Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Honkai Star Rail video, and today we're going to talk about the upcoming banners on Star Rail. They're coming up in just about a day or two here. We're going to have an Acheron banner, and we're going to have a Luocha banner. So we're going to talk about each of the banners, what's on them, and if I think you should pull or not, right? So first, let's start by talking about which 5 stars we'll have. We're going to have Acheron, and we're going to have Luocha. So they're each going to headline a separate banner. And then the 4 stars are going to be Gallagher, Pela, and Don Hung. So let me talk about the 4 stars first. They're going to be on both banners, so you can kind of decide if any of those are worth chasing. Don Hung, I think most players are familiar with. He's a wind hunt character. He's kind of like the standard free-to-play like DPS character they give you. I do think Don Hung, while supported, is actually a decent character. I would just say that in general, hunt is probably like one of the weaker typings right now, just in terms of DPS, because I feel like just AoE is too good, or like 3 targets. Like the 3 target destruction DPS characters, those are kind of like the main DPS you want to use. But I think Don Hung, if properly supported, can be good. So I'd say, if you like Don Hung and you want to build up dupes on him, sure, you might want to pull there. But for the most part, I don't think Don Hung is anybody needs to chase, right? Then we have Pela. To me, I think Pela is one of the better 4-star characters in the game. She's a Nihility character who's going to apply debuffs, most notably defense shredding, which is a really good debuff in the game. It makes your damage dealers do more damage. Pela is a character I use a lot, and she is ice typing, which I think is a good typing. Pairs really well on like a Jinglu team, which I run her a lot. She's very, very good. So Pela, definitely a great character to grab if you're going in for that type of character. And then Gallagher is the new character. And I do think Gallagher is actually going to be quite good, quite impactful. I'm actually really excited to get him. The thing you have to keep in mind with Gallagher is that you will have the opportunity to pick him up for free. So what's going to happen is during the event period, there will be a 4-star selector banner. And I do want to correct something I said slightly in a previous video. I did talk about this 4-star selector a little bit earlier on a previous video. And I did say that I highly recommend players grab Lynx, which I still recommend. Lynx is like still probably the best character there. But what I forgot is Lynx is actually given to all players for free at some point. So everybody should have Lynx already or access to Lynx. You'd only want to grab Lynx if you're looking for dupes. So I would say because all players are going to have Lynx, I would say Gallagher might actually be the best pick on the 4-star selector banner. And then once again, you can decide if you want dupes or not. But if you're not going to pull on these banners, you can just get Gallagher for free. So you definitely don't want to pull here just to get Gallagher. If Gallagher is all you're interested in, just take your free copy and kind of walk with that and save your resources, right? But Gallagher is a fire type abundance character, so he's going to be doing healing. And what's unique about him is he puts a debuff down on the enemies, and debuffs work really well with Acheron. So not only, like, the thing with abundance characters, typically, like, their main role is just healing, and then you kind of lack in other areas like damage and whatnot. Well, Gallagher does, he's not just healing, but he does debuffing, which Acheron and some other characters might like that. But then he actually has some damage with some follow-up attacks. So I think Gallagher is going to just be a really, really nice unit to have. I think abundance are characters that players are going to want in their box, and you're going to want more than one because you're going to need a variety of typings, and you're going to be doing content where you need multiple team builds. So, bare minimum, every account needs 2 healers. But I think it's nice having a variety of typings that fit different events. So I think Gallagher is going to be really, really nice to have for sure. So he's going to be like, if you decide to go in on either of the 5-star characters, I think having Gallagher and Pela there are just huge pluses. And then Don Hung, I would say, is there if you like running him as like a 4-star budget, like DPS option, right? All right, so first let's talk about Luocha. Luocha is an imaginary healer character, right? And Luocha is very good. I would say Luocha and Huahua are the 2 best healers in the game. Luocha, most notably, what he does that's really good is he does off-turn healing when your character's HP falls below a certain threshold. Now, what I'm going to say is I actually would not recommend players to summon Luocha here, even though he's very good. You have so much access to healers in terms of free 4-star healers. Natasha, Lynx, and now Gallagher are all characters you have access to for free, and they're all like very suitable healers, right? Luocha is kind of like a win more button, if that makes any sense, right? It's like he's like a character, like you can get the abundance roll for free, like so you don't need Luocha, but he's like if you want like the very advanced version of that, right? Like the version that like isn't necessary, but he's like incredibly good. The one type of player that I would say that you might want to seriously think about getting Luocha is if you're a Blade player. Like if you've been playing Blade and you really like him and you use him a lot, I think then it's probably a good idea to get Luocha if you don't have him, because Blade is a destruction character that drains health, but he drains it actually at a pretty heavy pace, right? Jinglu drains health, but it's very small, like 4%, but Blade drains it very heavily. So having Luocha there to immediately like heal him back is so good. So basically, what I'm going to say is all players probably should skip Luocha's banner unless you are a Blade player. If you are a Blade player and you don't have Luocha, I actually think it's a pretty good idea to go in and grab him, actually. But because, like, literally Gallagher's right there, you're getting him for free, you're getting links, like, you definitely don't need him for the abundance part of it. It's just if you really want him for, like, that Blade team comp, then I think he's good, right? Last, let's talk about Acheron. Now, Acheron is a character that I think has a lot of hype behind her, and I think deservedly so. I think Acheron's going to be a very good character, but I don't want players to get deceived because they're probably hearing a lot of hype about Acheron. They're seeing a lot of people say good things about her and like, yeah, I'm going to get her. She's going to be great. I want to just talk about some things to be aware of if you decide to pull for Acheron, okay? I think Acheron's going to be very good, yes, but you kind of have to... this is definitely like a build-around character. It's not like a character like Seela, where I could just throw Seela down on a team and I've got a good DPS, right? Like, you definitely have to be prepared to play the right type of team. I've talked about this with characters like Black Swan and Kafka. Like, these aren't characters you just pull and then just throw them onto a team. Like, you want a team build around these characters, and Acheron's the same way. So the way Acheron's going to work is she is a lightning type. I believe she's Nihility. Yeah, I think she's a lightning type Nihility character, but she definitely classifies as DPS. And what she does that's very unique is that she actually doesn't use energy. And if you're unfamiliar with what I mean by energy, that's what you're building up to use your ultimate. She doesn't use that. So instead of building up energy to use her ultimate, she's just building up stacks on a passive. And when she reaches 9 stacks, she can use the ultimate. And basically, anytime a debuff is applied, you get stacks. So the faster you can apply debuffs, the more debuffs you can apply. Basically, the more you can spam her ultimates. So what you want to do with her is you want to run basically full Nihility teams, or characters that can apply debuffs. Technically, the whole team doesn't have to be Nihility. Like, there are characters in different classes that can still debuff, but typically Nihility characters apply multiple debuffs, which is going to help her stack scope a lot faster. The couple of things, so that's one thing to be aware of with Acheron, why she's not just an auto pull. You have to be prepared as a player to say, I've already maybe built up a lot of Nihility characters or like DOT characters, and I want to run those together on a team. Then yes, that's one situation you might be good to go. The other thing you have to be careful of is what I'm hearing from a lot of players is that you kind of want the dupes on her. I've heard of several players that say they're going to E6 her. Her E6, I think, is probably really ridiculous, insane. I haven't personally looked at it myself, but based on what I'm seeing in the community, she's a character that's very high investment. Like, I think an E0 Acheron is going to look very different than an E6 Acheron. So I think if you're going to go for her, you know, getting her at E0, she's probably still going to be ridiculously good. But, you know, I think she's someone that the Eidolons are really going to play a big role on her. So that's something else to be aware of. And then the third really big factor we need to consider here is that anniversary is only a month away, like literally a month away. And so the thing you have to be aware of, and this is, you know, what good gacha games do, they do throw out something really nice to try to tempt you. And then anniversary, typically, if Star Rail does what most gachas do and should do, is their anniversary characters should be like the best characters of the year, right? So like, obviously every new character should be better than the last. That's pretty standard for gachas. But what a lot of gachas do is the anniversary characters will actually be better than things that come out after them for quite a while. So if you know, it depends on where your resources are at. But another reason I would recommend maybe not summoning here at all is because Anniversary could be really insane. So that's the gamble you're going to have to play. Like, if you really want to go all in Acheron and drain your resources, you can do that. But just be prepared that Anniversary, if the developers do what they should, they're going to put out something insane that's going to make you want to spend and eat up your wallet, right? So I just wanted to throw those things out there. So for me personally, I am skipping on the banners. And because I can get my copy of Gallagher for free, I'm content doing that. I'll be honest, if Gallagher wasn't free, I would actually be tempted to go in to at least get Gallagher, because I think Gallagher is going to be a really great 4-star healing option, and I just like what he's providing in terms of other utility other than just healing, that I think is going to make him really interesting to really help me, with some pure fiction fights and maybe even, some other difficult content that has turn restrictions, right? So I think there's a lot of good to be said there. So I would say the players that want to go in on Acheron, I would say if you're prepared to heavily invest in her and you've already got, like, if you're someone that's already running like Black Swan Kafka teams, I think Acheron, you might want to grab her, because you're already running a heavy debuff type of setup, and Acheron's going to work so well there. And you're going to be able to get Acheron for free, or Gallagher for free. But you're probably going to pull Gallagher on your way to Acheron unless you get really lucky and hit Acheron early, or like you're on your pity pull, like on your first pull. But you're probably going to run into Gallagher, and then you could get dupes with him on your 4-star selector, or if you get unlucky and don't get him, you can get that. But Gallagher is going to work so well with Acheron because you still want healers, but he's a healer that's applying debuffs, which actually benefits Acheron, right? So anyways, you guys can let me know what you're going to do here. Like I said, I think my recommendation overall is the average player to just skip. I would say if you're a Blade player, you might want to think about Luocha. And if you're a DOT Nihility player, then you might want to go on Acheron. The other thing I want to talk about too is just in general, if you're looking for a DPS character, because that's the other thing. Most players that have been playing for at least a little bit have like at least 1 or 2 really good main DPS characters. And that's what Acheron is. If you're lacking DPS though, and you've got like debuffers, then Acheron is a better pickup for you. But I would say if you want more of a straightforward DPS, Jing Lu is coming up in the Adventurine cycle, so that'll be about like 2 weeks away from when this one drops. You'll have Jing Lun across from Adventurine, and I think Jing Lu is just a really nice, easy, straightforward DPS to play. So if you're a more conventional player that like, I want a DPS, but I don't know if I want to deal with all this debuffing and like specific team setups, then you might want to wait and get Jing Lu, right? So anyways, let me know what you guys are going to do. Thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.